Pursuit of victory, pursuit of victory, pursuit of victory. Life ain't no mystery. Read up on history. Taking all these concepts, don't take it out of context, but pursuit of victory. Yeah. Welcome everybody to another episode of the P.O.V podcast. I'm your host, Victory Waraway. Welcome to the show, and with that being said, let's get into it. So the quote of the day today is going to be, laundry is the only thing that should be separated by color. The author is unknown. I think it's a very good quote, and it's going to go into kind of what I'm going to talk about. And then the book recommendation is going to be The Iceman Inheritance, Prehistoric Sources of Western Man's Racism, Sexism, and Aggression. And the book is by Michael Bradley. He's a white man, so you know what I mean, you can't get mad because a white man's saying it. But anyways, I think it's a really good book as far as talking about where this hostility and aggression comes from white men specifically, like, you know. And if you get offended anyway, you can, because like, look at all the stuff that's going on lately, like, you know what I mean, nobody's talking about where that comes from. So if you're open-minded, go read that book and get some answers, because we're oftentimes having conversations but not to a point where we're coming to clarity as far as what's going on and coming up with solutions. And I think this is a good book that, you know what I mean, explains a lot of stuff. Anyways, so let's get into the first topic. The first topic is going to be about George Floyd, R.I.P. first of all. So it was this cop, Derek Chavin, who killed him in broad daylight, murdered, I should say, either or. But that's the first thing that I want to say. We need to call these things what they are. This is not police brutality. This is a police murderer or a police killer. I'm tired of us using those words like brutality, because it's not enough. They do more than just brutalize us. They kill us. And we need to say it that way so people take it seriously, because I feel like that word brutalize, it's very, like, this is not something where they just beat up a dude. Nah, you killed him in broad daylight, or you murdered him. Second thing that I want to say is, well, I didn't even get into it, but yeah, so they had this dude cuffed. He was on the floor, and then you still felt the need to take your knee and put it on his neck. And from things that I read, as far as from social media and on the internet, it said that this is that's a position that they told them is very dangerous to do, and it wasn't even a procedure as far as like something that they're supposed to do when they interact with someone else. But why did he feel so comfortable doing it to a person that was black? You know, I think it's one of those things that, like, people can say what they want. There's good cops, there's bad cops, but really the point of the matter is that when you're black, you have a different interaction with cops than white people do, Asian people do, Spanish people do, you know what I mean? I think I would say that if you have any skin color in general, you're just gonna have a different reality with cops, no matter what it is, because we've seen videos where you're following what they say and you still end up dead. We've seen videos where you tell them like you have this and you still end up dead. So the reality is, there's just a different way you're treated when you're a person who has skin color, you know what I mean, specifically dark skin. And another thing I want to get into is there was 4 officers there. So there was Chauvin himself, Derek Chavin. There was Lane, Kyung, and then Totao. I don't know if I'm saying that right. So these 3 officers, if we're really talking about good cops, why did none of them do nothing? They did absolutely nothing in that situation. There was nobody that tried to push Derek off and save the man's life. There's nobody that told him like, hey, come on, get him off, he's not doing anything. You see what I'm talking about? That's why when people give these arguments about there's good cops out there, my question to you is, where are they in these instances? And they're only brought about, or the good cops, like, my thing all I'm just saying is, like, they never talk about this stuff themselves until a situation like this happens. That's when you want to come and say, oh, well, there's good cops, you know what I mean? And we have multiple cases where nothing has happened to these cops, you know what I mean? Like, this is just an ongoing and that keeps happening. And I think also too, for society, it's part of our problem too, because we don't bother having these discussions. Like, as much as I'm so happy that, like, well, not happy, but in the sense that I am happy that people are talking about it. It's everywhere. This is not something you can ignore. It's every time I'm on social media, somebody's talking about it, somebody's posting. I'm glad about that. And it's not just black people. There's other people doing it. But my thing though is, how long is this gonna last? Because I just feel like every time this happens, the one thing that I've noticed, and I want to give a shout out to Frances Cress Welsing, because she, from her book, The Aces Paper, I think the one thing that I've gained from it is observing what's happening and, you know, coming up with your own conclusions. So from my observations, all I've seen is that every time this happens, the main pattern that always happens is people get mad, people post about it, people start, you know what I mean? Even if it's like this, I think that's the first time I've seen where, like, people are rioting and stuff. The last time I saw this was, I forget where. There was another time this happened, but I can't remember the name. But this happened, but what I'm talking about is how the fact of the matter is, when this stuff happens, you know, people get mad, people get rioted, people post it, but after some time, that energy kind of dies down. You know what I'm saying? It really does. And that's just my whole thing. Are we gonna keep the same energy a month from now, a year from now, 2 years from now? You know? So that happens, and then maybe 6 months later it's brought about, oh, this happened. So that's just my problem, is just that these things are not talked about enough. Another thing is that when a school shooting happens, one thing that I've also noted is that they make documentaries about it. They talk to the people that are affected by it. They try to make the person who shot up, first of all, the whole school, and try to make us have sympathy for them, and always give us backstories of, oh, they had a good childhood, they were a smart kid, they were this. So you're trying to get us to sympathize with a killer. Like, really? But then if you look at us, one thing that I've noticed is with us, whenever they kill us, they pull a record from us that has nothing to do with the situation. So they'll do something insane, in the fact of the matter that, like, I mean, you even saw this with both of them, Jean, where it's like they said that he had marijuana on him. So you see what I'm saying? They'll pull your record and they'll find something that relates nothing to that incident that happened that day, and try to kind of, that's my thing of, like, they're using that to justify why they killed you. But you don't see them doing that to people who are actually doing stuff that's really, really bad, you know what I'm saying? And let's just say in some of these cases, like, we are in the wrong. It still does not justify you killing us. When you have white people who commit crimes, or other people from other races that commit crimes, they don't end up dead. You know what happens? They get arrested, and if they're found in the wrong, they get charged and they go to jail. But for us, why is it that when it's a traffic stop, when it's a situations where a cop pull up and you're with them, like, there's a result that you just might die, and that's the reality of it. And I also feel bad for people who are younger than me, people who look like me that are way younger than me. I'm 25 at the end of the day, and like I said, I've lived in America in 16 years, so I think it's one of those things where, like, you kind of become numb to it, because it's like they've done everything possible. Like, now they're taking it to new measures, where it's just like, shooting even wasn't enough for them. It's like, now I feel even comfortable taking my knee and killing you with my knee. You know what I'm saying?
Goodbye.
And I think this case is very significant because if you really think about it, his knee was on this man's neck, and that's how he died. And it's a lynching in a sense because they used to hang us by our neck. This time he hung you with his knee, not literally, but like he killed you with his knee. It's very symbolic. And Francis Chris Wilson like talked about this when it's in white people's behavior, consciously or unconsciously, they know what they're doing. You know what I mean? So I think unconsciously or consciously, it's one of those things where it symbolizes a lot of things. And then even in social media, a lot of people talk about this, but like you're mad at us when Colin Kaepernick was kneeling about these things, about unarmed black men being killed for necessarily for nothing, and then you take your knee and you decide to kill the person with your knee. You know what I'm saying? It's just, it's nuts. And then you can even take it to the layer that people are saying like when they start looting, the killing starts. First of all, if you're white or if you're the president, you're this, you should not be talking about looting because you steal a lot of stuff. You've stolen artifacts from Africa that you have in European museums that don't belong there in the first place. You've stolen culture that you never give credit to. There's a lot of artists who have helped you make money that you don't give them the actual money that they deserve. So you shouldn't be talking about looting because you loot in multiple ways. The biggest thing too that I want to go into is that you'll go to school and they tell you not to plagiarize, right? But you guys plagiarize all the time. You do films, Gods of Egypt specifically, where you're pretending that you were Egyptians and you were not. Last time I checked, Egypt is in Africa, and it's people that had dark skin. Sure, you had people over time who were like light skin who were Egyptians, but they were dark, they were African, and you never want to put in that sense. So that's what I don't get about you guys is that you say like, oh, you can't do all of this, yet you've done all of this. Look at history. One thing that David Banner talks about is that I really appreciate because I look at multiple people in their perspective and I just try to put it in my perspective at the end of the day. But one thing that he said, to quote him, is that name me anywhere that white people have gone that they haven't caused destruction. You look at Native Americans, what happened? You look at what they did in Australia, what happened? Because Australia actually used to be a very, a country that had a lot of people of color. I think it was Tasmanians, and you guys killed them off. And nobody talks about that. And then when we bring it up, you want to get mad, but it's like, look at your history. Look at your history. I'm not saying this to all of you, but it is your history. You know, even if you weren't there, it is your history. And although people will say things that like slavery is gone and all that, the mentality is still there. Look at the stuff that's still going on currently, you know? And this is why I mentioned that it's also important for other people who are not black to talk about these issues because one of the officers was Asian. And the thing is, all I want to say is that there's people in communities like this who are just as racist as white people because that Asian man sat there and didn't do anything. There was also the other two officers, but specifically him, it just kind of really made me be even more mad because I'm like, bro, like, I would think, you know what I'm saying, like, you being a person who's Asian would at least assist or try to help a person, you know what I mean, who has color or a black man, because there was a time where they were shitting on Asian people. If you read your history, you know, from your teeth, they used to, you know, exaggerate your teeth and make fun of your features and all that stuff. But people forget that. They don't talk about it. But I think over time, there's some people who are Asian, to be honest, who really think they're white, and you're not. You're really not. But it's just very significant, the fact that, like, you sat there and you watched another man being killed. You really just sat there with your, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's just, it amazes me, like, the stuff. Well, it doesn't really, like, amaze me because me, all the time, I'm reading about this, I'm talking about it, I'm watching something pertaining to it. So to me, it's never really, like, a surprising thing because, to be honest, it's just like I said, these people do not see us as human beings. And I think another thing is the fact that once you dehumanize people and all that, you can justify your behavior. You can treat them less than. these people look at us as everything but human beings, whether it be animals, whether it be niggers, whether it be and I said it that way because that's how they say it, you know. They look at us as everything but human, and you know, it's nuts because they'll have all these things too, like we're thugs, we're this, we're that. They use certain words, and anytime this happens, not specifically to this, but in other cases, I'm tired of you guys who say that there's good, fill in the blank for whatever you want to call it, there's good, whatever you want to call it out there, because these same good blanks will say stuff like he was resisting, you know what I mean, if he had just followed what the officer was saying. But you tell me, how come people who still have done the same things that you're talking about that they should have done this, how come they still end up dead, you know? And another thing that I want to talk about is, why have they not pulled these officers? Because there's clearly a problem. There's clearly a problem in the law enforcement with police officers about them, and when they interact with African Americans or black men in general. There's clearly a problem that's not talked about. Why don't they pull them into an office and just ask them openly, what are you guys afraid of? Honestly, what are you guys afraid of from these people? Because they don't have any weapons. Every time it's, you know, oh, I thought he had a gun, and then you find out it was only a phone, it was a wallet. What's scaring you that much? If you read the ICE papers, you'll know. But I'm just asking, like, what scares you that much, you know? And as an officer, I'm not an officer, but I would think that the last thing you would have to use is your gun, not the first thing. You know what I mean? You're supposed to analyze the situation and then go according to it, you know? Not just take your gun and kill somebody. And like I said, if that was the case, why do you feel comfortable doing that when it comes to black people? But when it's white people who actually, you've seen videos where they're resisting, they're talking shit in front of you. We can't do that because we just can't. The reality is just different, you know. And I think there's two more things I want to say. There's also other things that affect why stuff like this happens and nothing's changed about it. And I would say it's images. The images that we see on TV, the movies they put out, the music that's portrayed of us, because the reality is all of this stuff plays a role. If you look at films, we're always the thugs, we're always the killers, we're always the kidnappers. They always try to put black people in a negative light. And like I said, when you've done enough of that, when you kill people, they don't really feel any type of way because they really believe all that stuff is true. How many college graduates do you guys put out there? How many people do you put that are doctors that are out there? How many psychologists do you put that are out there? We've done a lot of these things, but we never get credited for it. We just get credited for being thugs, murderers, all of this. And it's like, you know, like, there's good and bad in everyone, you know what I'm saying? But you guys only want to highlight the bad stuff, and that's it. And to be honest, how come for you guys don't do it the same? We, at the end of the day, like, one thing that I'm sick of is that you portray us to be so bad, but you guys are bad too. Like, at the end of the day, we have a holiday about Christopher Columbus, which you say discovered America, which is not true if you read your history. And you guys still have a holiday for him. You have a lot of white heroes that you give holidays to, you celebrate. But if you look at their backstory, if you look at their history and what they've done, they're not really heroes at the end of the day. Not for me anyway. If you're a person who's black, you look at these people and they're not your heroes. But when you go to school at the end of the day, they still celebrate these people. They kind of, in a sense, you know, sensationalize them, and they make them seem to be people that were so great, and it's like, but those aren't my heroes. So that's one thing. Number two, I think the last thing that I wanted to say is that I think that if you're a white person watching this, or if this gets to you in some way, shape, or form, and I hope it does, you try to have these conversations with people that don't look like you, and have these conversations. If you're in an interracial relationship, you should bring these topics up. You should bring these topics up because you need to know what the person that you're dating is going through. A lot of you guys that are in interracial relationships, I know this is going off topic, but not really because it kind of relates to it. You don't have these discussions. You want to act like that just because you hooked up with or like that you were the black person, that solves everything, and it doesn't, because this reality still goes on. So what are you doing about it in your everyday life? Are you having these discussions with people? And a lot of you, to be honest, that's the privilege that you have. You can just choose to ignore these topics. You can just choose to go to work and act like you don't know that they're happening. You're not going to talk to them to coworkers, because a lot of the times I don't expect my coworkers or whatever to have these discussions. Even when I was going to school, I wouldn't expect a lot of these students to have these discussions, because like I said, they have the privilege of just choosing to ignore it and not talk about it. But then when the Me Too movement and stuff happens, you want to have those conversations, but you don't want to have conversations about what I have to go through. Like, you know what I'm saying? I don't mind having discussions about the Me Too movement or things that even affect you. But how come when I want to talk about what affects me, you don't have to listen to it, or you don't even want to hear what I have to say? And you guys will make it seem like I'm complaining, but I'm like, no, this affects me at the end of the day. And I think the worst thing is that the fact that there's some little kid out there who's maybe 5, 6, or who's not 25, who saw this video, and it's going to affect him in so many ways. You know what I'm saying? Like, how does he internalize that? Is there parents talking to him about this? Because that's another thing I hate to say, is that a lot of people, to be honest, that are adults in this community, they don't talk about this. They know what's going on, but you don't talk about it to your kids. You don't talk about it to your nephew. You don't even ask them how they feel. And it's just sad, because who do they go to when all this stuff happens? And then you wonder why, this rioting stuff is happening. You wonder why they want to join gangs and all of this. Like, all of this stuff, I just think in everybody's case it affects them differently. And some people end up choosing wrong ways, but can you blame them when they have nobody to go to? When they have nobody to go to? Because when situations like this happen, my thing is, to anyone watching, is what do you do? What do you do? Because an R.I.P can only do so much. You know what I mean? Constantly posting stuff, even posting it, I think as much as information you get from it, you still feel helpless in a sense, because nothing is changing, And this is why I stress on reading history so much, or even talking about the stuff before it escalates to this level where it's like, this is everywhere now, you're forced to talk about it. It's important that you're having these discussions before something like this happens, Or one thing that I didn't want to give, because I know I kind of hit a lot of different areas, but I'm just showing you how it relates in everyday life and how it affects other things, is that one discussion I think that black people in general need to start having, because like I said, it's a reality that as a black person you're gonna have a different interaction with the cops. We need to start figuring out what's our code of conduct when we deal with cops, because we have to have a plan, because at the end of the day we're a threat to them. Even if you're not doing anything that's threatening, you're already a threat to them just by being like me, looking like me. You need to have a code of conduct when we meet with police officers. Do I know exactly what that is? No. It's more about talking about it and figuring out, but we need to have a code of conduct. And also, another thing I would recommend is, as a people, we need to have a code of conduct. There's just certain things that I feel if all of us were on code, then it would kind of prevent some of this stuff. I don't know entirely, but what I mean by that is white people are on code, because what I mean by that is, when this situation happens, you always get the same thing, whether it's he was resisting, if he had just complied with, if he had just followed what the officer was saying, this wouldn't have happened. You know what I'm saying? Or they'll use, even if you look at the Eric Garner situation, he was selling illegal cigarettes, but my whole thing is but you're using that as to why 4 people had to go on him and kill the dude, That's another thing. If you need reinforcements to come and help you with somebody who's struggling, but nah, y'all killed that dude in broad daylight. So I think that's one thing as a people that's important is we need to start having a code of conduct as far as how we move when we go outside of the world, because this world just treats us differently. And it's like, at least if we have a code of conduct, we'll know what to do when certain situations arise, because we can't sit here like one thing that I'll say to you is that I had someone who I talked to, this was a while ago, and I brought this up and they were like, oh, well, that's in the South, man, we don't gotta worry about that. And my thing is, you're acting like that situation is in a different country. That would be different if it's in a different country. I mean, it still would be injustice. But I told them, like, it's still in America, though. That's my problem. It's still in America. It's just a state away. And it's one of those things where in certain places it's not happening, but maybe it's just not happening to that level. There's little instances where it's like you can get mistreatment. You don't have to necessarily drive, but you're still being mistreated, you know? Because the one thing I think that I've learned is that it's sad to say, but this is true. If me and another white person commit the same crime, we're not going to get the same time. I really do believe that we're not going to get the same time. Based on how I look like, based on how people's views of black people are, we're not going to get the same time. And I think the last thing that I want to talk about is, I think the reason why this stuff is happening more often too, not happening more often, it's been happening, it's just that now it's being recorded, so it looks like, you know what I mean, it's happening more often, but it's been happening. But one of the things that I would say to white people is that you guys live in places where you don't have to interact with us. And a lot of the times when you're forced to interact with us, whether it be the workplace, the school, whatever, your racist thoughts, your racist ideas come out. And again, it's one of those things, start putting yourself in places where you're not always, because we're always interacting with you. We're forced to interact with you from every corner. We can't hide from you. If I go to Walmart, I can talk all this hate, whatever, like, yo, I don't mess with, da-da-da, but I still have to interact with you guys. You know what I'm saying? Like, I still am a person who will judge you according to your character, but from my experiences from white people, I just always kind of try to stay skeptical because, like I said, a lot of you guys, you might not be like Derek Chavin where you took a knee and you killed someone, but as far as your, the way you talk about stuff and your attitude towards things, it's like, for some of you, I wonder sometimes, what's stopping you from going to that level? Because once you start from jokes, it starts turning into other things. It's like, you guys never check yourself. Like, I get it, like, you can joke about stuff and it's funny, but there's just certain things you shouldn't joke about, you know what I'm saying? And that's where it comes to a point where it's like, you guys gotta really start taking accountability. And I know you get tight when we talk about this stuff, but like I said, it affects us, and it's like, you expect me to just be silent and act like this doesn't affect me in any type of way, you know what I'm saying? Like, when I look at videos like that, like I said, I don't even want to be looking at them anymore, because like I said, I don't really gain anything from it. I can have a great day, and then a video like that messes up my whole day. Even if I had a good positive day, something happened, like you think about it right now, a lot of people just graduated. Seeing that video makes you, like, you know what I'm saying? You don't even get to enjoy your moment because now you have to focus on that. That's our reality at the end of the day. We can have a good day, but a video like that ruins a whole day. It ruins a whole day, and there's nothing that it really does except for just inform other people, because we already know what's going on. So it's just one of those things where, like I said, like, I'm tired of, like, being in situations where, like, I can't talk about this stuff because it makes you feel uncomfortable, but I'm the one really suffering at the end of the day. Why should I not be able to talk about it? And like I said, when I go to work in places like this, or whether it's school or when I'm around certain people, I don't expect them to have these conversations, because at the end of the day, it's like I said, these conversations don't last that long with people who don't look like you, or people who've never experienced it. I don't expect someone to have that level of expertise if they've never experienced what I've experienced. But like, I feel like every black person, to a degree, you have a degree in racism, you know what I mean? You know the ins and outs. You come up to a different level of understanding because you've gone through it so much. But yeah, like I just said, like, you guys gotta start speaking up. because when you don't speak up, it shows that you kind of support it, you are okay with what's going on. And then, like, I just want you to think about this. You listen to our music, you mess with the clothes that we put out, you watch the movies that we make, you listen to comedy that makes you laugh, but yet you don't fuck with the same people who did all those things. Like, that makes no sense. You love the culture, but you hate the people. What type of shit is that? What type of shit is that? At the end of the day, like, there's music out there that's created by white people, but you know what? Like, I still have respect towards them. You know what I'm saying? That's a sad thing, is like, when it comes to us, it's not the same way. You know what I'm saying? And it's not just white people, because I don't want to go off that. It's not just them. Other people too. It can be Asian people, Indian people. I don't see that same respect level. You can have friends that are black. It doesn't mean that you respect black people. You can be listening to Tupac. It doesn't mean you respect black people. You can be watching Menace to Society. It doesn't mean you fuck with black people like that. You know what I mean? You only like us, like I said, when we're entertaining you, when we're giving you sexual needs, whatever. But other than that, you don't really fuck with us like that. And I'm tired of the last thing that I'm gonna just say is, I think that a lot of the people doing these posts and whatever, I think honestly to some extent, I gotta say that some of you guys are pretending that you care, you know, because like I said, how long is this energy gonna last for? You know, that's just my question, is how long is it gonna last, you know? With that being said, I think I concluded my thoughts as far as just that subject matter. We're gonna switch to something else now. But I hope that gives you perspective, or helps you in some sort of way, or just gives you insight to certain things, you know. The second thing that I want to talk about was conversations. I feel like conversations are so slept on, and then even as far as good conversations, because a lot of people don't have good conversations. What people think I mean by conversations is like when you meet up with someone and you ask them, hey, how was your day? I'm good. How was your day? It was good. Like, how was work? Those are not conversations. That's small talk. You know what I mean? People confuse small talk for conversations. They're not the same thing. What I mean by conversations is, and I have a lot of these, I'm talking about conversations where they last 2, 3, maybe even 4 hours, because you're talking about, you know, stuff that actually matters. What you're talking about is actually with intent. Like, I was talking to one of my good friends the other day, and it was about art. We talked about art for like 3 hours, you know what I mean? Pros and cons about being an artist, you know what I'm saying? Like, people not understanding the perspective of what an artist, the lifestyle of an artist is like, you know what I mean? So stuff like that, I really enjoy conversations like that, where it's like we're talking and like I gain something from it. Or, I know everyone can relate to this, but like, you know, it's a bomb ass conversation when you meet up with someone you weren't even expecting it, and you were headed somewhere, it's work, and you want to stay for that conversation, but it's like, damn, I gotta go to work, whatever. Those are the best combos, where it's like you're even willing to be a little bit late, even though you have work, whatever it may be. So conversations are really important. And then even having conversations outside of people who you only normally would talk to, like outside of that. So I'm talking about strangers sometimes, because I've had a lot of conversations with strangers that I've just come across, and it's not with all of them that's been great, but some of them it's been like I went to the train once and I met up this chick who just sat next to her. It started off with like me asking about like a charger, and then one thing led to another, and then we just ended up talking the whole time until she had to leave. But yeah, I would just say like a lot of people are not good at conversations. They're trying to have small talk and then hoping it leads to a great conversation. That's not the case. If you want to have a good conversation, I would just say, just ask a question that's like actually interesting. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, go up to an artist and ask him like, hey, what are the pros or cons to being an artist, and then go off there. But people want to just, like, when people ask you like how work was, I just feel like it's one of those things like, what do you expect me to say? Usually people, even if, like, it's not like I'm gonna give you some crazy, like, yo, I saw this crazy thing happen at work, whatever. If it comes, it'll come, but most of the time those conversations don't go anywhere. And I just feel like a lot of the times too, there's people who, like, you'll be having a conversation with, and it's not really going anywhere. You're just like, damn, this conversation is boring as hell. Whereas, like, there's some people you meet, when you have whatever conversation it is, it's always a good conversation. Like, I have 4 or 5 people that I have those conversations with, and I'm talking about, we be on the phone, we be video chatting, we can just keep going and going. And then we can do the small talk. If you want to do the small talk after, then yeah, cool. But conversations, good conversations are so slept on, because I think, honestly, the art of communicating with people is kind of lost in a way. And this kind of segues into the next topic, because of also the fact that people are so caught up with their phones. The phone is a great thing. I can search up a lot of stuff. I can, you know what I mean? I can purchase stuff on here. I can do everything that I want on the phone. But also at the same time, it's also distracting in the sense that you get so caught up in it. People are always looking down on their phone instead of looking up at the sky, looking what's going on in the external environment. Like, you could be so caught up in your phone, you don't even realize, like, yo, this dude just got hit by this, whatever. You know what I'm saying? It just makes you so distracted. So I think one thing that I want to say is making sure you limit the time that you're using on your phone, because there's so much more to this world than just your phone. I think with me, the longest that I've gone, because don't get it twisted, I still get caught up in my phone too. It's something that I still gotta work on. But as far as for me, it's like, there was one time my phone died. I wanted to go biking, and I only wanted the phone just so I can have music, but I didn't have time to sit here and wait for it to get charged. So literally, I put in the charger and I just left, and I ended up being gone for a whole day for like 6 hours. That's 6 hours I wasn't on my phone. You know what I'm saying? For some people that's crazy, because people can't even handle an hour away from their phone. You know what I'm saying? And that really says a lot. If you can't even handle 1 or 2 hours without being on your phone, you know what I'm saying? Because when you can do that, you'll realize there's so much more important things. There's someone you can connect with that you wouldn't have connected because you're not on your phone. But that's an exercise I would give to you guys, is that try to see how long you can go without using your phone, whether it's even in a day. Like, can I go 2 hours without using my phone, you know? You can go without, like, technology, you know what I mean, and get out, because there's other things to experience, you know what I'm saying? Before I go, there's one more thing I wanted to mention regarding the whole Derek Chavin case, and it's the fact that I just want to say, as far as police officers go, I think that we really need to start pressuring black officers to start speaking up, because that's another thing that I have is, how come black officers don't talk about this stuff that goes on? And if you've noticed, whenever this stuff happens, usually they'll get a black officers to come speak on the situation. Why do they do that? And a lot of them, like, I just feel like they're docile. They have this forgive type of mentality, but a lot of you guys don't talk about these subjects. And it's like, I don't know, man. Like I said, the subject is, like, very heavy. I think it needs to be group discussions that have had more people, and if people really care about it, then you'll have discussions and eventually come up with solutions. But like I said, I just see a lot of people out here posting stuff, but they're just pretending to care for the moment, because it's trendy to you know what I mean? That's why I don't like that, even that term when people use woke and whatever, you know what I mean? Because if you're really woke, you don't have to say that you're woke, you know? With that being said, I hope you could take something from this episode. I know I talked a lot about this stuff. Maybe I was off topic sometimes, but I do feel like what I said related in every instance. So I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. Check out future episodes dropping every Saturday at 12 p.m. And peace. First off, I think that art is not really appreciated the way it should be, because art runs the world. And it's the one thing where, like, it inspires people, it gives people perspectives, and it's always informative as far as it could teach you something at the end of the day. It could give you a perspective you never looked at. And the one thing, it causes interactions to happen, because these two people might disagree with each other, but oh, you like that movie too, and the conversation sparks from there, and people connect through art too. So it's one of those things. A lot of people take art for granted, but I couldn't imagine what a world without art would be like. Music, stand-up comedy, because that's the thing is, art comes in so many forms. People just, I think, when they think about art, they think about like art like this,